Blue Apron, take back dinner. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Liars Club. I'm Felicia Michaels.
And I'm Jessica Wellington.
And what we do here at the Liars Club is we have... I'm sorry.
She's super drunk. I'm going to have to take over
I'm
the
not
wheel.
drunk, but he did his hand signal way off camera. Oh my God. Anyway, what we do here at the Liars Club is we have two of our comedy friends come on. We ask them to tell two stories. One is the truth, one is a lie. We try to figure out which one is a lie. Right, Jessica?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, yes.
Okay, go.
I'm going to introduce our guest right now. Over to my left, she is a writer on Lego Friends, Girls on a Mission. She's also written 4 Barbie movies. And most importantly, she has a Lego that is her. It's a Lego of her. This is Kacey Arnold.
Yay, Kacey Arnold. Kacey Arnold.
She's also stand-up.
Thank you. Thanks for throwing that in. I appreciate that.
No, like,
It's less glamorous.
this one goes. Oh wait.
Thank you for being here. Your mics in there are on, buddies.
We're killing it so far.
You know.
We are so on fire right now. It's frightening.
And this lovely lady over here, she has a podcast called Falling in Love with Leah Lamarr. She's actually gotten some successful matches, which is, I can't believe it. 9 months in, people have been put together because of her. She's a hilarious stand-up. She was so much fun on the historical roast that we did. She also is host on American Home Videos Online. This is Leah Lamarr.
Hi.
Welcome to the show, Leah Lamarr. Welcome to the show. What is the retention rate with the couples that you do put together on your podcast?
Well, the couple that is together is still together. So we will say that's 100%.
Okay. All right. So what we want to let you guys know that are listening out in podcast land is that we do stream live from the Comedy Store's YouTube page Mondays at 4:30ish and most Fridays at 8:30ish. So if you ever want to play along live, please try to do that with us. And welcome to everyone that's watching us live tonight. We're glad that you're here and we have missed you. And this is what I want to ask you about, Kacey, as far as the little Lego that they made of you, right?
Yeah.
What did they do to that Lego that was specifically you? Because I have kids, and when they were little, they had all the Legos, all the figures, right? So what did they do that where you're like, oh yeah, that's me?
So we were writing the show, and they wanted to have a girl character, a girl baddie. And I sort of jokingly started naming her Kacey so the writers could take their anger out on me.
Uh-huh.
And then one day my boss called me and was like, okay, marketing approved it. That character's name is Kacey, spelled your way. So I said, okay, here's a photo of me if you would like it to look more like me. So it has like my haircut that I had at the time and the same color lipstick and a little smirk. But mostly it's my name with the spelling.
But to be fair, Legos have come a long way. It's not just a block with a head, like a little circle on it.
No, she has a wetsuit on and she bends.
Right, see?
She has a wetsuit on? Wow, your Lego is so in shape that she has a wetsuit on?
Wait, what haircut did we have
She's
at that
part
time?
of the dolphin swim set. Like a, what is it called? The lob? Is that what that's called? Right? Yeah. Oh. I guess it's a good thing I grew it out. I'm getting my hair cut tomorrow.
It's really good the way it is.
I'm getting it cut tomorrow, so you can be honest later.
Well, anyway, but Leah, you also did, as Jessica mentioned before, the historical roast with us. You were so fucking funny on that. You played Anne Frank. You made Anne Frank funny. Tough gig. It was a tough gig.
I mean, they say you'll always get the roles you're meant to have. You know, it just felt like that was pretty easy. I didn't have to reach too hard. You know, Dear Diary. You know, we just went right into it.
That was really funny when they introduced Leah and she was hiding in the room. I guess you had to be there. Anyway, so we do ask our guests to tell 2 stories. One is the truth, one is a lie. We're going to rotate you guys around. You cannot tell 2 truths and at the end be like, haha, surprise, they're both true. We don't like that. We love it when people play along with the game.
Okay.
And we're excited to have you on. You both are very, very creative people. And I think, Kacey, you should go first.
Okay. I'm going to go first.
Okay.
Which story do I want to tell first? Okay. All right. So before I was a writer, I was an assistant for a million years. And
Already a lie.
okay. It felt like a million
Okay,
years.
there we
That
go.
seemed pretty true.
Can we
on
know
the
for
inside.
who?
It was a couple of writer-producers.
Okay.
I don't like to use actual people's names just because
It's
it
hard to
limits
remember
what I
when
can
you're lying.
say. No. I can tell you lots about them.
Okay.
I
Okay.
just, you know,
Okay.
I'm freer to say what I say.
But
if I don't say their names.
comedy shows,
they're-
producers of
right.
comedy shows.
Comedy showrunners, executive producers. They
Okay.
had a development deal. So
Okay.
part of their deal was they got an office and they got an assistant. So I worked for them for,
So you were a part of a package deal.
I was deal perk. Yeah. Yeah. Hard to believe. So I worked for them for many, many years. I made a lot of coffee. I edited a lot of scripts. I filed shit. I was the office manager. I set up our offices. I was their human punching bag when they needed inspiration. I did, you know, whatever I needed to do to get in the writer's room.
So a girl in comedy.
Exactly. But no, I didn't sleep with anybody to get into the writer's room.
Whatever.
All right, so not a girl
No
in comedy.
judgment here.
An unsuccessful girl in comedy.
Who has insurance?
Self-paid insurance. So anyway,
Humble brag.
You guys,
It's a
you
bad
know,
brag.
the thing is you guys could sleep with a lot of men if you wanted. You know, and it's
What are you
Why
getting
stop
at,
it?
Jessica?
Why stop
What's
at
up
men,
with that? What's up
Jessica?
with that?
Why stop at men?
you
if you know, there was a time. The moment that I met Robert Kelly was the one time I was like, maybe I could actually sleep with him to get to the top.
How'd that go for you?
Hasn't worked out for me yet.
I mean,
It hasn't worked.
I definitely could have made better bad decisions. There are definitely questionable men I slept with that I probably could have just slept with someone that could have given me a job. Sure.
Yeah.
But I didn't go down that road.
No, you're on a professional road working for these people.
Working for these guys.
9 to
So
5.
Yeah, I've just slept with a bunch of losers.
Oh, yeah, that's
I
my.
really ruined
that's my
it.
gig.
You know, I had a couple golden years and threw them out the window.
Oh.
again, you're a comedian. Yeah, that's what we do. So I was working for these guys. So funny you say it. So when they hired me, I was much heavier and I got fit while I was working for them. So they sort of saw me differently than everyone else did. But
That's interesting.
yeah, I lost like 40, 50 pounds while I was working for them.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
From the stress or just
I wish it was from the stress. It was from breakup stress. I got dumped while I was working for them, and I got a trainer and got in shape, and then became a cliche and dated my trainer. That's another story.
Oh my god.
damn, son.
I'm going to reveal things I didn't mean to reveal.
And that was 37.
You think about it, that makes complete sense because they have morphed you into the body that they desire.
Oh, yeah. But let me talk about like how paranoid you are when you're having sex. When like they put their hand somewhere, you're like, what? Why are you putting your hand there? Can you tell? Did I gain weight? Or are you just trying to be
Oh,
sexy?
yeah.
It was,
Oh.
anyway. But that might just be me. I have low self-esteem. Okay. So
So you got in shape and you were the
So I
writer's
got in shape.
assistant.
I'm the writer's assistant. So we wound up making like 4 pilots while I worked for them. And every time we did a show, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be it. This is the time I'm going to get staffed. It's a strong female character. I can rate the shit out of that. This is going to be awesome. Nothing ever went to air. Every time we were just so close. It was a fail. Then one year they didn't actually sell anything. And so they had to go staff on a show. And they were like, okay, we're not really doing any development, so we don't really need you. But if you want to keep your job, you can just come and do nothing, or you can go move on with life. So,
But paid.
paid, right? So
Okay.
obviously I chose to get paid to do nothing.
Okay, right.
So I went to work on the show.
Yeah.
And the show was actually an amazing show. It was based on the book Kitchen Confidential, written by Anthony Bourdain. It was a sitcom about his life. Darren Star was the executive producer, like fresh off of Sex and the City. The writers were from like Arrested Development. The Simpsons.
now you're gonna name names,
I'm not telling you specific people.
right? But I
Except for
mean,
Anthony Bourdain. You can't defend himself or corroborate any of this, so guess we're screwed with that route.
And
You
that
have to see
Star
what I
guy,
say about him, though.
fresh off the Sex City game.
Darren Star, yeah.
Yeah.
But the story's not about them.
okay.
Okay.
That's it. I'm just letting you know. Like, I
Okay.
finally was on a show that was a good fucking show, and it was the right call to be there, and life was good, and all the coffee was worth it. Not the coffee I drank, the coffee I made.
Did Bonnie McFarlane work on that show?
I don't know.
Huh. Go ahead.
I didn't talk to her if she was.
Okay. All right.
You're already quizzing me. Okay, so I didn't have much to do on the show. So even though you're trying to make me look like a liar, I did spend a lot of time hanging out in the writer's room.
Okay.
And hanging out on set and talking to the executives and the directors and whatever. And since I had so much downtime, nobody really like knew what I did. So everybody was nice to me because they were all like, well, she's like never sitting at a fucking desk. Like she must be important. So they were nice. So one day I was in the writer's room and they were talking about, oh, actually, sorry, I forgot an important part. The star of the show was a super handsome and charming man who had not yet become extremely famous, but was definitely destined to be famous. It was Bradley Cooper. But he was super hunky and handsome, charming Bradley Cooper and easy to access to. Okay. So one day I was in the writer's room.
He was in the movie The Mule that I was in.
He was also in the movie A Star Is Born that I was background in.
There you go. We've
And
all
he was also
worked
in
with
my
Bradley Cooper.
bedroom last night.
Oh, wow. Lucky you.
Well, maybe you're winning the
Yeah,
story.
so we've all worked on him.
Were you awake at the time?
Except me. Except me.
Yet.
I have no connection to him. All right.
Okay. So I'm in the writer's room one day and they're talking about how they want to do a 3-episode arc of a love interest for Bradley. And I'm like, oh, that's fun. Maybe I should go down to set and tell Bradley.
What year is this?
Like late 90s,
Okay.
I guess.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly what year it was.
Okay.
I worked for those guys for 6.5 years. It all kind of morphs
Okay.
into each other.
So you're going to go tell Bradley.
Okay, so I'm gonna go tell Bradley. So I go down to set and I'm like, hey Bradley, I just thought you might want to know the writers are trying to get you a 3-episode love interest. Would you like that? And he goes, I don't know. Is it gonna be you? And I turned around and I was like, who is he talking to? He can't possibly be talking to me because I'm a fat girl and he is Bradley Cooper and I don't have the self-esteem to flirt with Bradley Cooper.
But you are skinny and worked out. Former fatty, right?
On the outside, I'm skinny and worked out. On the inside, I'm still
how
a
do you
nerdy
talk
fat
about
girl.
that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, but that's why I mentioned it earlier. Because in my head, no matter what size I am, I'm still that same fat girl. But whatever size I am, he's Bradley Cooper.
Right.
Like, the women that flirt with Bradley Cooper are the, like, I grew up hot and amazing and have flirted with Bradley Coopers my whole life kind of people. And I'm not one of those people.
Okay.
So I failed at flirting with Bradley Cooper. So I left and, they're trying to cast the part for this woman and they haven't cast her yet. And the writers know that I do stand up and I have plenty of time on my hands. So they're like, hey, will you go sit outside the casting office and practice the lines, hoping that one of the actresses copies your delivery. So I sit out there for it. It's not the first time they asked me to do that. I guess if anyone's listening and you hear someone doing
I'm
that,
learning
maybe
so much.
maybe steal from their delivery. Yeah. So none of the actresses did that. So they're like, fuck, what are we going to do about this part? And one of the writer producers was like, fuck it. Let's just have Kacey play the part. And I was like, what? Holy shit, I really am in the fucking right place at the right time. I am going to get to kiss Bradley Cooper. Not only I'm going to get paid to kiss Bradley Cooper. And I'm not going to get it right the first time.
That sounds like prostitution.
But if it's with Bradley Cooper,
I know.
mean,
Worth it.
I'm just saying when you say getting paid to kiss Bradley
worth
Cooper.
it. It's okay, right? Because I might not have the actual self-esteem, but I could maybe act.
Did you
like
do
I have
it?
the self-esteem. I'm getting to that part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get a little faster.
Okay. All right. So they want me to do it. I'm psyched about it. For some reason, my bosses aren't in the writer's room that day. And since I'm actually there as their assistant, I just have to double check with them that they're cool with it. But you know how I said people don't always see you the same. They see me more as the person that makes their coffee and not the person that gets to have a 3-episode arc with Bradley Cooper. So no, it did not happen. It's one of my great life regrets. I don't know why I didn't just quit my fucking job. I guess because I'm a
They
dummy.
both said no, both your bosses?
They both said no. They weren't into it.
Wow.
Did they wait a while before they said no, or they were an automatic, like, that's fucking insanity?
Yeah, it was an automatic, like, no fucking way are you doing that? No. That's
Really?
ridiculous.
Fucked
You'll
up.
never be able to do that.
Wow.
So then
That's
10
a real
years
bummer
later,
story.
it was very bummer. Sorry. But then this will be a happier ending. So then 10 years later, my friend was in a movie with Bradley Cooper. It was American Sniper. And so I told him the story and he goes, oh, all right, cool. I'll tell Bradley you say hi. And I'm like, oh, cool. I'm sure I won't come out looking like a dumbass because I know this had like a big impression on me. And I'm sure Bradley totally remembers me. And so my friend calls me back and he goes, hey, Bradley remembered you. He says hi. So obviously he was pretending he did to help me save face, but it just makes me love him more. So Bradley, if you're listening, you can have a second chance.
Bradley, if you're listening.
Isn't he? He's single. He is single right now.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Why don't you get us on your podcast and see
Oh
how
my
that
God.
Yes, yes. Hook them up, Leah. Hook them up. Wow. Well, that was an intense and very long story, but you filled it all in, and we love that about you. What do you
I'll
think?
be faster with the next one.
No. It's not a complaint at all. But what do you think, Austin, person that I didn't introduce earlier, who is our on-air producer? What do you
welcome
think?
back to Florida. Happy Thanksgiving. Fuck me, I guess. But good to be here.
Nice to have you back,
We
Austin.
really did miss you.
We did miss you.
I even watched last time. Michael, you're getting better every time. They're loving you more online over here. I mean...
Yeah, that's condescending, but thank you.
But it's,
That's our other on-air producer, Michael Evans.
that also wasn't introduced earlier, but it's all right.
there you
Did
go.
Leah
Not with it.
retweet and stuff? Are we good with all that?
They not because I just retweeted the link after we got started.
Okay.
But you'd be more than welcome to. I do want to say though that Ken Lofgren's already calling this one a lie
Yeah.
because it's really I'm guessing because it's really like perfectly wrapped. You know, it's a story that's got a bow on it at the end.
I
so
make up stories for a living, so I only do
Right.
stories with beginning, middle, and end when they're true or not
defensive
true.
this
if
one
they were
is.
alive, possible.
Defensive.
Very defensive. Also, Ken Lofgren adds, Jessica, your hair is so distracting
I know.
tonight.
She looks
'Cause
good
it's so
tonight.
beautiful.
I know.
What does your hair usually look like?
It's
More-
in a phase right now. You know, like I'm growing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so it just you saw me.
It varies, is what
Yeah.
you're saying.
It's Hair Wellington.
Hair Wellington. Anything else?
Leah's staying up late with us tonight. She's on the East Coast as well as Jesse Stillwell.
Welcome
So
back.
they're hanging out with us tonight, and looks like everybody else is kind of just thinking it's a lie with Ken Lofgren. Or maybe that's just
Alright.
me and Mike.
All right. Well, let's move it along, and we'll get to Leah's first story.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I went to my best friend from college's wedding in Peru. She married a Peruvian man, even though she's a Jew from Chicago. These things happen. No, she's great. She's bilingual. She had the wedding down there, and I was going through
What do they speak in Peru?
Spanish.
Okay.
Yeah. And she was going through. I was going through a horrible breakup. Do you guys hear a crazy buzzing?
Yes.
It's a little buzzy.
Okay.
So is Felicia.
It's not really, though.
I was going through a horrible breakup. You know how you feel like you'll never be yourself again? Is that everyone in a breakup?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Anyway.
I haven't had the chance to break up in like over 6 years, so whatever. Continue
Damn.
your story.
Fuck, Jessica.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I'll
It's like
Well,
that tonight? What the
but-
fuck?
Buddy chimed in a second ago online and said that he would give anything to be your husband. So maybe you guys
Done.
just need to link up. He said, I want to be Jessica's husband like a future Ben Falcone.
Wow.
Done.
There you
I
go.
can
Wow,
get
that
an
is fucking
extra
romantic.
That is,
$150
yeah.
bucks just for getting married each month. So let's do it.
I think
each
Jessica
month?
just got wet and we're all going to drown in here.
Oh
But
my
we'll move
God.
along to your story, Leah.
Thank you. I'll be rowing the boat by myself over here. Damn. Okay. So I was going through a horrible breakup. I was so upset. And so I was just going to go for the wedding, which was going to be like a 5-day experience. But instead, I decided to tack on to the trip that her best friends from camp and from home had planned.
What camp?
They're her friends from camp. Her
Jewish
camp.
sleepaway
Yeah.
camp.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't know such things.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. Jews know a lot about camps.
Trailer Tash doesn't get to go to camp.
I went to 4-H camp.
You did?
Sure
She
did.
grew up in a camp. Well, trailer park. It's very close to a
Very
camp.
close.
What are the 4-H's? Horses
No, it's like heart, head, health, and
Horse.
something.
Yeah, so take that,
and
Leah.
hacky as fuck.
Take that, judgmental chick over there.
Yeah, obviously that's my whole thing. Okay, so I decided to tack myself onto their trip. It's a couple, and then the couple's sister, and then a friend of theirs, and they're all so close. They're like a tight knit crew. So I was just like a weird fifth wheel.
Right.
And the wedding was fine, blah blah blah. And then we decided we're gonna go hike Machu Picchu, not hike, but you get it. More than hike, because that's a large trip.
It's a very big mountain.
It's a big mountain. We have a good time, and we're sharing like little cots, and there's like one bathroom per 5 people. It's horrible. Like we all got giardia.
Got what?
Giardia.
That's what dogs get when they drink water that's contaminated.
When you drink poop water.
Yeah.
You drink drink poop water in Peru?
Yeah, like I didn't know a toilet could burp. You know what I mean? It was like it had its time. We were having a bad time there. We took like an overnight bus to go like more sightseeing, and I had to borrow this guy's sweatpants because like I'd already like I had some trouble there, and
What happened? You shit yourself?
I totally shit myself. Wait, okay. So this trip like is a nightmare. I'm so depressed. I'm so like ragingly lonely. I don't fit in.
And you shit yourself.
I shit myself and someone else's pants. It was so bad.
Did you return the pants?
I mean, there was like a lot of, I think
Shitting
throughout the
in
years, I denied for so many years. I was like, it was only a fart. And it's like, Leah, you didn't just fart.
Oh, no.
This isn't where I wanted to go with the story. Like, this wasn't at all the part that I wanted to discuss.
Leaning towards true on this one.
Okay.
Oh, hilarious. Wow, fun rabbit hole for me. And the trip was like, it was fun, but when I was done, I was very, you know how some people go on vacation, they're like, I never want to leave. I was like, I'm ready to go home. I don't want to be in this, like, at all, like, in this country anymore. I'm done. That's why I also don't speak Spanish. It was just hard for me. Shitting my brains out, you get it. And lonely, sad, you get it. And so I finally and we all traveled separately because they were going back to Chicago and I was going back to New York. So I get on a plane and my first flight is delayed 10 hours. And then when I finally get on the plane, I also hate flying. I should mention that.
Same.
Ugh, it's the worst.
Are you still having bathroom issues at this point?
I mean, I don't think they've ever stopped. I have to go to the bathroom right now. I've already shit these pants. Yeah, and so the flight is 10 hours delayed. But then when we finally get on the flight, I get bumped up to business class. And I'm sitting next to this nice guy named Alejandro. And he's Colombian. And I was like, okay, this is great.
Too perfect. Go ahead. All right, Lady Gaga, go ahead.
Hilarious. Thank you so much. We're still friends on Facebook. People do tell me I look like her. So
You do.
Yeah.
She's hot, dude.
Things are working out okay
Yeah,
for her.
I guess she's okay. I guess things are.
Yeah.
I guess it would be worse for someone to say you look like Leah Lamarr. They'd be like, who? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so I get on the flight. Then it's a connecting flight, and I land in Panama City. And then we're in Panama City, and the entire airport shuts down and goes on lockdown. And there's no food, there's no water. People start rioting. It gets so crazy. I don't speak any Spanish. There are no planes coming in, coming out. The only plane that came in was like a government plane from Panama, and people started like hitting them, and like it got so scary. And me and this guy Alejandro, he just like became my buddy.
Now, doesn't Lady Gaga have a song called
That's why I
Alejandro?
said that.
Oh, sorry.
We know you just got off a
I'm
flight.
sorry. Now I'm blown away because like 3 people are chiming in right now. Hey, we're watching from New Zealand. I didn't know we had such a big audience in New Zealand.
Yes. Hello, New
Thanks for
Zealand.
watching.
My question to you, Leah,
I'm not
is
done.
I know, but but it's apparent this shit went down at the airport rioting
Yeah.
thing is the crux of the story. Why do we have to hear so much about Peru?
I'm just telling you about the journey.
Okay.
But I'm just going to also tell you that, somebody that you love dearly, Mr. Fugelsang, told a story that was true about being in
In
Peru.
Peru.
Oh.
Yes, he did.
Well, then this is probably the true one.
Okay.
So okay, no, but it's a like a third world country down there, so like things were a little different than you do in America. Like there was this woman changing her baby, and she just like was right next to me and like spread her baby's legs open and like spanked it. It was I was like, I gotta get out of here. Over 12 hours go by. I haven't slept. I'm going delusional. We're waiting in lines that are like 4 hours long just to get reticketed for flights that never leave, never come. It's like the whole thing is insane. I have no access to the outside world because I don't have international cell plan. So I can't call my family to let them know that I'm like alive but stuck somewhere, and they have no idea where I am. They just know they were supposed to pick me up like 24 hours ago, And so finally I have a mental breakdown. And I go into the middle of this like insane place and I start screaming and crying hysterically, going, I'm an American citizen! I'm an American citizen! I'm gonna call the embassy! My phone doesn't work. I'm gonna call the on this thing. You have to put me on a flight to New York. Like such an entitled little bitch. And then finally, this woman was like, stop yelling. Like this one flight attendant. And there was one flight going to Newark from United. And I didn't have a United ticket or anything. And she was just like, put me on the plane. And there were like 10 open seats. And I was so mad because it felt like the Titanic where you like look back and you're just like, all the other people could have been saved. And I get on the flight and I sit next to a rabbi. And I'm like, oh, I'll be totally safe. There's like only one other Jew probably on this continent. And he's like, how old are you? And I tell him, and he goes, oh, how many kids do you have? And I said, none. He goes, you should have 7 children by now. And I was like, oh, I'm not ready for this. Like, and he goes, what do you do? And I said, I'm an artist. And he goes, God doesn't love art.
Shit.
And
dude.
I just got up and moved to one of the other empty seats. And I was like, thank you, God, for letting all those other people suffer at the Panama airport so I could get away from this rabbi. And when I finally landed at the Newark airport, I called my dad and I was like, Dad, come get me. And he was like, who is this imposter on the phone pretending to be my daughter? Because apparently like the riots had made it on the news. So they thought that I had been held kidnapped.
There's so much to
There's
unpack in
so
this
much in
fucking
that
story.
story.
I mean, like, so it's either the whole thing is true or everything in that story is a fucking lie. So that means either you are a long-ass storyteller or a genius at this game, because besides being a podcast, this is a game, and we are trying to figure out which one of your stories is a lie.
And there was a lot of cruxes in there.
There was. So what is the major crux of the story that you're sticking to upon that whole story? Like it's the story about going to
the
Peru,
meat of the story.
the meat of the story, and you got caught in Panama in a riot situation. So that's
I think
the crux of
it's
the
a
story.
time about how I almost got kidnapped.
But you didn't say anything about kidnapping.
At the end, that was my last word.
She did.
You said that your parents
Yeah,
thought
my parents
that
thought
you
I
had
got
gotten
kidnapped.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I
So
think
all the-
all the
Okay.
ruckus was still happening at the airport
Uh-huh.
after I left.
Uh-huh. Do you now are you aggrandizing this story in any fashion? Like, were you just a little maybe paranoid from being dehydrated from having shit yourself
From being a white
in
woman.
other people's pants in Peru, and you
No.
weren't really seeing the situation correctly?
No, I'm still friends with Alejandro on Facebook, and I'll show you the messages.
We're not allowed to go online when we do this.
Oh, I mean
Afterwards.
after.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Well, there you go.
Alejandro.
Michael Evans, what are your thoughts?
I'd still like to see Alejandro after the pod if we could do that.
Oh, that is so weird.
Fucking sad,
I
dude.
know. I know.
I'd still like to talk to Alejandro.
Yo, I can't like Alejandro.
All right,
What about
Igor.
Okay.
Oh man.
You might want to turn your mic up a little bit, Michael, by the way.
Yeah, Christian Blanco is already yelling at us about compression and stuff, whatever that means in
Yeah,
there,
true.
Michael.
Yes,
Come on.
but yo, I am clinically compressed over here. I know.
Yeah, he has been, but turn it up.
I believe her first story more than I believe the first story. I don't know why I felt fishy about yours. I just
That's fine. You just hate me. I get it.
That's what it is, I suppose. And
Fishy, because she is the whole Lego she's in is the dolphin exhibit.
right.
All right, Michael, can you turn up your microphone a little
Is
bit
it
more,
still
please?
not working?
Yeah,
Well, we're
just
all the way up now.
okay.
All right, well,
it
How
is
about
what.
now?
It's probably fine on the
We'll
other
just
end.
throw
We
it
Did
against
the
the wall.
boyfriend
You know what?
that you had
I think
broken
we
up
need-
with worry that you were almost kidnapped?
He had no idea this was even going on because he broke up with me and never spoke to me again.
Wow.
Well, 1 month after we broke up, he wanted to like get together, and then he tried to have sex, and I was like, literally die.
Oh.
I did touch his penis over the pants, and that was it. That's all that happened. Okay.
What, with Alejandro? Are you talking about
no,
your
no. She was
boyfriend?
asking about the ex-boyfriend.
The ex-boyfriend
Yeah.
that you broke up with.
Well, he broke up with me.
He broke up with you. All right, so we're gonna move on to Kacey's
Over
second
the
story.
All right.
So go ahead, Casey.
All right. I feel extra pressure now that you guys all hate me.
No, we
Oh,
love you.
yeah, we
Just
love
get to
you.
that fucking story.
All right. I'm going to tell this one rapidly.
Okay.
Okay. There's very loud music coming from there.
Yeah, just so you know, we are streaming live from the Comedy Store, and upstairs the shows are going on. So
All
if you
right,
hear
less
music,
attitude there, Felicia.
yeah. No, I just want people to know they hear it.
Thank you. Okay. So this story is embarrassing. So maybe it'll help me to speed through it. So I dated this guy who he was super kinky, and it was new stuff to me. And he very early on told me that he wanted me to wear a collar. Jessica's into this story already. And
Good stuff.
and,
How long ago was this?
I knew you were gonna ask that. I don't want to say that because then the people I know will know who I'm talking about.
It's like
I
3-4
can tell
hours
you
ago.
after.
It's so interesting whose names you're
Yeah, I
willing to
know.
drop.
You won't say some names, but all of a sudden, Bradley Cooper wanted me to star in a 3-episode arc.
I mean, what are my odds of running into Bradley again? Running into my ex-boyfriend again? Probably the odds are higher.
Oh, okay. So he was a writer-producer.
He was a man I had sex with, and he wanted me to wear a collar.
Wow.
And for a while I thought he was kidding, and then I finally realized he was serious, and I was like, really? A collar? I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I'm a Jew from New York. I don't really know much about being submissive. I don't know. You can relate to that?
No,
Or not?
no,
Okay.
I
Oh, you're
can't.
just throwing
I
your
just
story. You're just throwing your story to Leah, like
Or not? No, that's fine.
So here, I'll finish it for you. It's funny. That was also my lie. And
It's fine. It's just me. So I was like freaked out about it. And he's like, all right. No pressure. Don't worry about it. But then he kept bringing it up. He kept talking about it. And I'm trying to
How do you
skip
talk
ahead
about it?
in
Like,
my
God,
story.
it'd be so great if you'd wear that fucking collar.
Yeah, he would make jokes about it
Did he
and
buy
bring it
one
up
for
all the
you?
time. You're skipping ahead. in the
Okay.
story.
Okay.
Well, that's how we tell a story quickly.
don't pressure her.
I can skip stuff, but then you're going to tell me I'm lying because I gave
Okay.
you no details.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, fine. I'll skip ahead to some stuff. Okay, so he wanted me to wear a collar. I wasn't sure what to do. Then one night he showed up and like dropped this bag of stuff by the side of the bed, and I was like, what's in the bag? And he started pulling things out, and one was like a pair of gloves with like spiky stuff on it, and there was like a paddle and a whip, and then all of a sudden he pulls out a collar, and I was like, wait, you have a collar? And they're like, you don't just want me to wear a collar, you want me to wear another woman's collar?
Oh,
Hard pass. Hard
Wow.
pass, not worrying. Like, I don't even
Agreed,
like knowing
agreed.
that he's
Yeah.
had sex with other women. I don't want the fucking evidence
gotta
around
have
my
her
neck.
own
Right?
Did
collar.
it have a little tag on it that said like Sarah and her phone number?
All the little hashtags of the
Right.
women that had worn it before me. No.
I was
So
thinking
he's
like a dog. Like a dog tag.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He's like, all right. He's like, we'll go buy you your own. Don't worry. And I was like, I need to think about this. I don't know. I was a little weirded out about the whole collar by many women thing, and I didn't know what to think. But I was like, all right, I really like this guy, so I am going to think about it. I'm not going to just say no. He seems to think I would really enjoy it, and he is usually right about things, so I need to go do some research. So, like the nerd that I am,
Oh my god.
I was like, all right, I don't want to go. No, I didn't go online. I was too intimidated to go to like a sex club or like the pleasure chest or whatever. So I decided that it would be smart if I just went to the pet store and tried on collars. I don't know why that seemed less conspicuous to me at the time,
And
but
you put them around your neck in
I
the
was
pet
like,
store.
yeah. So I went to the pet store.
God, that dick
And
must have been good.
I
Must have
was-
been good dick if you're putting a collar on yourself at the fucking
Yeah.
pet store.
Can you send me his number?
Walking
Must have
around.
been some fucking pristine dick. I'm a lonely lady.
I'm a cat.
I want to meet a guy who's like, go to the frog aisle at Petco. You know.
He didn't tell me to go to the pet store. That was
No,
my
yeah.
own
You
bright
could have went
idea.
to the adult collar store.
So I went to the pet store, and I was in the the collar aisle, but I realized I'm a cat person, and my cats don't wear a fucking collar, so I didn't really even know how to like open the thing to make it big enough. So the clerk comes over like while I'm fiddling with it, and he's like, "Hi, ma'am, can I help you?" And I was like, No, I'm good. No, I don't need some strange person putting a collar on me here. I'm embarrassed anyway. So I finally got the collar on, and I looked at myself on my phone, and I was like, that looks fucking ridiculous. I feel like my cat's that's super unsexy. I can't do that. So now that I'm this far in, yes, I did finally go to the pleasure chest, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to fucking walk in there. And I went to the wall of collars, but I was super intimidated because everything was like spiky and surrounded by giant dildos that talk about a big dick. I don't know how these things fit inside anyone. So I didn't actually try anything on, but I did see a sparkly one that I was like, oh, well, that just kind of looks like a sparkly choker. Like I could put on a choker
I think
for
it's
him.
so funny that you would try on a collar at the pet store, but not the people collar store.
I was intimidated by it all, and I don't always make good decisions, Jessica. I don't know what to tell you.
There's a people collar store?
Yeah, she went there.
The pleasure chest.
Pleasure
Oh,
chest.
that one. I see what you mean.
Oh, there you go. Now you sound good.
Yeah, there's some. Whoa, my.
Wow.
What's
So
going on
I was
tonight?
like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
a little
I'm
less noise, dear. A little less noise.
I'm so relieved that I went through the embarrassing thing at the pet store or whatever to work up the courage to come here. Great, now I can do this. So I go to tell him, like thinking he'll be all excited. Hey, I found a collar. Here's one you can go buy me. And he goes, okay, well, did you pick out a leash? And I was like, well, you didn't say anything about a leash. That's a whole different thing. And he's like, well, what do you think the collar's for? And I said, I don't know. I'm a cat person. I don't know anything about collars. I just thought it was for my neck. So I decided that was like a next level of trust that I wasn't really ready for. And maybe we would have gotten there, but we broke up before we got to that point. So no, I just went and embarrassed myself for no reason. And now I feel self-conscious going to the pet store.
Wow.
Well, see, back in my day,
Back in 2013.
back in my day, I wore Jinko jeans and collars just on a
You
regular
sound like-
day.
So it was no big for you. I'm a nice
Yeah.
Jewish girl from Westchester. I grew up wearing fucking pearls.
Ugh.
Please, those are the most fucked up chicks on the planet.
Well, our
Jewish girls
And,
from
and I'm just
Westchester,
a Jewish
please.
girl.
I don't know what our friend Leah down in Bartow, Florida, what her religion
Leah.
is,
What a
but
great name.
she says used collar equal no, new collar equal no prob.
Yeah.
And yeah, she also before the show tweeted about your name and said, "Thank God we finally have
Yeah,
another
Leah
Leah on the
now.
show."
Yeah.
And I love the way she thinks. Leah.
Oh,
H.
also have Casey's ex-boyfriend, I think, chiming in here. Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm chilling in a Whataburger parking lot. Gonna go get Blitz, Corpus Christi, Texas. So, shout out.
Wow. There
Shout
you
out
go.
Corpus Christi.
There
Something's
you
wrong
go.
with my mic. I'm not
It's
gonna
all
talk
right.
ever again.
Something's
Thanks,
wrong with
guys.
our mic.
Yeah. It's
You know
all
what?
good.
I think there aren't enough mics on this podcast. Seems like
Well, those are that's two very good stories that you told. It's interesting, the stories that you told. It's hard to imagine that a children's writer would be at a Petco trying on collars, but there you go.
I'm
It's
not
very
just a
fascinating.
children's writer.
I know, but you write for a lot of
I do.
animations geared towards younger
I am
people.
a role model for young girls. You're welcome.
Buddy C. Buddy would like to see pictures of Jenko Jess, please, if possible.
Oh,
Oh, I have
shit.
some. I bet
You have a
on my
fan
Facebook
club.
page.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like
Oh, Buddy
it.
C. Buddy's in.
With a collar thing on too. You can, yeah. Go look
honestly,
on my-
that should be your Instagram handle, Jinko Jazz. They should sponsor you. You should be like their
Totally
sponsor.
true. You're totally right. You're totally right.
I would love that. They still have Jinko jeans.
I hope not.
Anyway, but two very good stories. Let's move on to your second story.
Okay. I was 16, going on 17. It was the summer of my junior year of high school, going into my senior year of high school. And I was a very precocious little Jewish girl from New York. And so I was doing a creative writing program at Tufts University over the summer in Boston. And it was like my first time not going to sleepaway camp or having a job over the summer at home. And so it was like fun that I got to finally get away and just like not be around anyone. And my first day of class, I show up. And I will just say, to this point in my life, I was a very good student. Like, straight A's, did every extracurricular, like, was the president of every club, was, like, on every sports team,
I
was
believe all
captain of
this.
Yeah.
everything. Oh, it was
Yeah,
insane.
I believe that.
I was, like, Miss High School. And I was, like, the nice girl that people's parents wanted their kids to be friends with me.
I bet they all regret that now.
Yeah. They're like, don't end up like Leah Lamarr. I'm a cautionary tale. Oh my god, remember that nice girl? Okay, she had such potential. Okay, I'll stop. And what a sad life. And
They didn't see you as Anne Frank hiding in the belly room of the Comedy Store when they introduced you. Though.
I peaked.
That-
That's when I
that's your.
peaked.
I think that's your peak.
Yeah, I had a good set that night. Thank you. And so I went to this class, and I show up, and the first day, the TA, this is the first time I ever had like my breath taken away by looking at someone. And I felt it was like a mutual moment of just falling in love. And it was a poetry class, and he was the TA, and his name was Guillaume, and he was French.
So you were like 14, 15?
16.
16.
Junior year of high school, going into senior
junior.
year of
Okay.
high school.
All right.
And I wasn't smart enough to be going before then. Just smart enough and annoying to go before my last year of high school. And so Guillaume and I like quickly fall into this love, and we're like sneaking around because we
How
don't
old
want
is
anyone.
he?
He's 20.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
That's nothing. I dated way older than that at that age.
And I think
Yeah,
it's
but I
pronoun-
was 16, so it was like.
But that was a
totally
crime,
illegal.
Jessica. That was a
Yeah.
crime,
Yeah,
okay?
This was illegal. And he was French, and he had an accent. He smoked cigarettes, and like he had tattoos.
That
and
makes it totally
he had
okay.
a
It's not
faux
illegal.
hawk.
Yeah, it's not a crime
Like,
then.
Hilarious! Yeah, I had no choice. I had no choice. And we fell like madly in love, and we spent the whole summer just like in each other's arms, had a great time. And then when the summer was over, I freaked out because I was like, I can't go back home without you, this and that. And so we just agreed we're going to do long distance.
I can't go home without you.
Leave me alone.
And so
This
none
is-
of the adults
my
said
first-
anything? None
this
of
is
the
my first
adults
great love.
said anything?
They didn't know.
Oh,
No
so
one
you
knew.
guys were in secret.
Yes, until I got home. No one knew until I got home because I wasn't like writing my parents letters like, oh, I found the love of my life. Like, fuck off. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
I don't think they'd fall in love with a guy who was wearing a shirt that said sex machine on it. Like that wasn't.
He wore that as a TA?
Oh, just like around campus.
It was
like,
college. It was college.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
also like the creative writing program. So it was, and he was teaching poetry.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no rules. It's like a summer, whatever.
Plus, he was French.
He was, okay. So, and also, like I said, it was a really good girl. Like, did not smoke, did not drink. Like, this did not align. Don't have any tattoos. Like, did
you
not
have
align
sex
with
with
my
him?
values. Did I? He had sex with me.
You lost your virginity to some
Yeah,
guy named Guillaume?
Guillaume.
Oh my God, I'm gonna cry.
I think it's actually pronounced Guam. I think he works the door upstairs. You guys know
yeah.
Guam
He
Felix.
did have sex. No, I'm just kidding. I love Guam. He's a very nice man. Okay, let's continue on. Having nothing to do with Guam having sex with me. So I lost my virginity to Guillaume. I go home and I fall into a depression. We're talking on the phone literally 3 hours a day. All my teachers are calling my parents being like, all of Leah's grades are dropping. Like, and I told you I used to be like a straight A student. I was like happy-go-lucky kid. I was losing my fucking mind because I was like madly in love with this guy. And like, I wanted to know what he was doing, where he was. Like, I was so lovesick. And it was the first I lost my virginity to him, And then so finally, like winter break time around Christmas, I said I was going to the city to spend like time with my friends in Manhattan. Like we were going to take a train in. And what I actually did was I took an Amtrak from my hometown in Long Island to Manhattan. And then I took an Amtrak from Manhattan to Boston where he picked me up. And we eloped on December 26th.
Did you get married?
Yeah, well, we also got annulled. That comes in the story later, obviously.
Where
I've
did
been
you
married
elope
one
to?
time. No, we just like got a court, like a marriage document. We were at a courthouse, and it was very sad. No one knew. I didn't answer my phone. My parents were calling me incessantly. I felt so
They
guilty.
thought you were kidnapped
Yeah,
again?
no, exactly. They like called the police. Like they were calling all the hospitals. They thought I was a missing person. They called all my friends' parents. Oh my God, it was such a nightmare when I came home. I was so embarrassed. But then I finally called them, and I was like, look, here's what happened. And I told them, I was like, I'm in love with this guy, and I can't this. And they're like, okay, just come home. You can still be married to him. We'll figure it out. You just need to come home. So I come
Could you
home.
get married at 16?
Yeah, what
without-
kind of paperwork did you have with you?
You can get legally married at 16.
in New
It's
York?
legal. Well, it was in Massachusetts.
Huh.
Yeah. They also outlawed the word bitch recently. So Massachusetts, you can also legally bartend
I
at
mean,
18 in New York. Like laws are different in every
At that
state.
age,
Yeah.
I was driving 6 hours every weekend to visit this guy in prison. So I believe that part about you getting on the train.
Well, but this goes into why my annulment. This goes, yeah. But that's
But
funny.
she was a special little girl, Jessica.
but this goes into the part. First of all, I'm worried about you.
Ain't no one worried about trash from Florida.
We're worried about
She's
you.
from North Carolina. We don't claim her. She was went to high school with her.
Oh
I
my
went to high
God.
school in Florida.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
But that plays a part in the annulment because you have to be legally 18 to get annulled. So it was a whole thing. My parents had family lawyers and all. Okay. So we get married. I explained this all, but also, sorry, I was 16 when I met him. My birthday's in June. I turned 17 by the time we were married, and then I had to wait until June again for the annulment to actually go through because that's when I was. It was like a whole thing. Okay, so let me finish.
Holy shit.
Okay, so we were only married 2 months. So I come back to New York. I'm in school, like everything's because I told my parents said come home, so I came home, and they're like, you can go visit him once a month, and they like wanted to meet him. It was this whole thing. I went to go visit him on February 1st, and I came back with chlamydia. I've never seen a man more
It's our
angry
first chlamydia story. Our first chlamydia story.
Jessica's
First
corroborating for
chlamydia
some
story. You don't have any charm and country folk chlamydia story you want to share with us, Jessica?
I mean, I've had it.
You're very supportive. I like it.
I haven't had Giardia.
I've had a lot of problems. I've had them all. So my dad was obviously like very furious, and then I was like, "Did you cheat on me?" This, of course, like he was sleeping with tons of women. And then on Valentine's Day, he sent a package, like a last-ditch effort sort of thing. He sent a package to my house. My dad opened it. It was a Valentine's package, and he got me one pink silk robe and one red silk robe from Victoria's Secret. And then he cut out paper hearts and wrote "I love you" in every language on it.
That's pretty good.
And I know. And then I was like, see, he does love me. And then he was like, I want to come. Like, I want to come to New York.
Yeah, obviously.
He already came. And my parents they were like, this is insane. And they hired some fancy lawyers. It was like so messy. I didn't talk to my parents for a while. I was like an angsty teen, but I still lived in their house. And then finally it was like legally, everything fell apart. And Guillaume finished the semester. He finished the semester in Boston. Then he went back to Paris. And a friend of his, a different like TA friend of his named Scott, just like a random white guy, he told me that Guillaume cheated on me with not only just one girl from my class.
From your class?
Yeah, I told you he was my TA.
Okay, at Boston.
Yeah,
from your class.
my
in
summer
Boston.
class.
She was in.
Okay, yeah.
Not only her, but one of the girls in my dorm that I was staying with. And then, like, after I left, it was just, like,
why did he
every
want to
night.
marry you, though? Like, what was that about?
I think he just...
Did he need a green card?
All right, first of all, fuck off. Because I'm amazing. What do you mean, why did he want to marry you?
I think he was trying to escape legal problems.
I don't know the answers.
I mean, he might have really loved you. I'm not saying that.
Scott and I have touched base, like, once every few years.
Scott?
Yeah, he was the friend. He was his friend.
Okay.
And I don't know what's happened. Guillaume just like went back home. Things didn't work out for him in America. I guess poetry is a dying art over here. His little sex machine shirt can live in France happily. But yeah, that's what happened. And so I was briefly married for a short amount of time to a French man named Guillaume.
If you're out in the wild walking around and you hear someone like a man with a French accent, are you like, do you want to?
I'll fuck
like,
you in that tent. Yeah.
Do you feel like,
No.
does it make you nauseous or does it bring back
I've never
terrible
heard the
memories?
name Guillaume again. Like literally no one has ever been like, hi, I'm Guillaume. You know, and if they did,
Right.
I'd probably stab him in the fucking face. I don't know what I would do. I think it's been enough time now that it doesn't like stay with me as much anymore. But I was broken. For like, I started drinking after that, and I told you I never touched a substance. Started smoking weed because in my head I was like, I'm getting back at him, and now he'll think I'm like a bad girl, and he'll be more attracted to
You're
me.
trying to do the grease thing.
It was so bad. Yeah. Except he didn't come back. Except for she changes for a man and then he loves her.
Can I ask you a question? How do you spell Guillaume?
Guillome, and there's a little accent over the O.
How do you spell chlamydia? Asking for the recap.
Spell that again, Guillaume. What?
Guillome, and there's a little accent over the O.
Excellent.
I don't know. That doesn't seem correct.
I believe it. I believe all that story.
Buddy, your husband, Buddy
was
C. Buddy,
destroyed.
also does. He says, I tend to believe college-age girls being dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was also destroyed, like obliterated for 2 years.
And she
I
wasn't
could not
college
date
age.
anyone.
Yeah,
I like
she wasn't
cried.
Oh, not
college.
quite, yeah.
I was almost college age. And then I cried like my entire freshman year. Just like anytime I got drunk, I'd be like, Guillaume! I wrote him a couple drunk emails.
Well, you know, at least you didn't come home and then.
Oh, fuck. Look at you
Really
fucking
bad.
lying over there. That's such a fucking liar's move, what you just did. Oh, my. Oh.
I'm not even crying. It was just remembering the emails. Thinking
Eleanor
back
would do
on
something
the
like that
day.
in her life.
Oh, yeah.
know,
That
I
is
thought
some
about-
Eleanor Kerrigan type
I know.
performance right there.
I thought about something very embarrassing. I used to have a diary that I wrote down like all the guys that had fingered me and who I'd kissed.
Oh, I love that.
Did you forget to take it with you when you moved out of your parents' house?
I don't know where it is.
Wow.
That seems like something you want to keep track of.
Yeah, that seems like something you might want to keep to yourself,
Well, at the
Jessica.
time-
I don't know.
At the time, I just like, oh, I'm gonna forget their names. I better write it down.
You got fingered so much, you were gonna forget their names.
You know, that was church camp.
I'm jealous.
Fair enough, Jessica. Fair enough.
Wow.
Wow, what do you think about these stories, Austin? That's pretty crazy.
I don't know. I was dead set on her first story being a lie because it was so all over the place.
Uh-huh.
But maybe that was just like trying to tell a really long story in, a condensed version. This one, everybody online, I think, is pretty much going with this one being the lie. It
Yeah,
seems
this
so
one, the
outrageous.
second one is a fucking
so
lie.
true, dude.
No, I think
think?
it's a lie.
It's
yeah.
so true.
I
Look at
think
her
this one
shift her
is
shoulders
true.
like this, like a fucking liar.
You
Like,
do think it's true, Casey?
I'll tell you why. Because when I watched her eyes on the first one, when she was talking about being lonely and depressed and heartbroken, there was no flash of any feeling whatsoever. But during this one, I was like, oh yeah, she felt some pain.
Well, you didn't see her do historical role playing Anne Frank, is all I'm saying.
That's true. That's true. I don't know how good of an actress you are.
I know.
Serial killer.
The way she played Anne Frank with the fucking sparkle in her eye on historical roast, I'm telling you, that second story is a fucking lie.
No, I don't think so because I just remember being that age and being that gullible and thinking this is the guy that's the end of the world if I don't get him. So I get it. I think it's true.
I'm with you.
What do you
I was
think?
also a gullible teen.
What do you think, Michael Evans?
I want that one to be the truth.
I'm afraid of my mic. Does this sound right?
Yeah.
That sounds right. I love the second story. If the second one's not true, I'm gonna be really bummed out.
Why?
It was riveting. It
Oh,
was
wait.
romantic. It was young, fucking weird love, and that it was a good time.
I've always wanted to write
It was
a
a
movie
crime.
about
It was
Yeah.
a crime scene.
I know. That's what's so spicy about this shit.
Yeah.
I read our Leah's comment wrong. She actually thinks that the second is true. I thought that she said
Really?
that. Yeah,
Well,
she,
I've always wanted to write a movie about it, but I'm so selfish. I'm like, I couldn't cast myself in it at this point, so
sure good.
because I'm
You
too
can
old.
play your mom.
No, but
Yeah.
it's like a heartbreaking story. I've literally thought about writing
So
a feature
how-
a million times.
How long were you legally married for?
2 months was the annulment started, plus 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, it
I
was
thought
just
you
a
said you
paper-
turned 17
Yeah.
shortly after, but you have
Yeah.
to be 18 to be
Yeah.
No.
legally.
Yeah, it was my freshman year. It was the June I turned 18.
It was your freshman year. You said it was your junior year.
No, it was my junior year of high school that I met him,
Uh-huh.
and then my senior year we got married, and I was already 17.
So what is it? Why,
So
why
then
did
I
you
was
say
18 in
freshman?
June.
Why did you say freshman?
College freshman.
I was 16 when I met him
Uh-huh.
that summer, and
Before your
then-
junior year.
and then I turned 17,
Uh-huh.
and then we got married December 26th, and then
Uh-huh.
it got annulled in June,
Look, we
my
can't
birthday.
fault her for
That's
not
when I was
keeping
18.
a finger book. You know, we don't all do that.
That's when I turned 18.
You should market those.
that you should sell those on your website.
Yeah, for sure.
It was
Your finger book.
uh-huh. Yeah, so it was a total of like 6 months. We got on June 14th. My birthday is when I got annulled.
Wow.
Because I don't remember all dates. I'm with you on that. And back then, I
No,
was.
but those are the so it's like my birthday
no,
is
I'm,
June
yeah,
14th.
don't do it again.
I'm also a Gemini, in case anyone was curious.
When I'm home, I don't want to run errands or have to figure out a meal plan, especially because I have kids. That's why Blue Apron is a great solution. Their chef-designed recipes are easy to follow and give you a balanced, delicious meal. Blue Apron is a quick and easy way to make high-quality meals that everyone can enjoy. Use promo code LIARS to get $30 off your first order. Blue Apron, take back dinner.
All right, starting with Casey's story. Story one, she was an assistant for a million years for people without actual names, where she filed shit and did whatever she had to do
Yes, I agree.
except sleep with people, supposedly. And she was also a little heavier back then, but was stressed out and lost it all, then started writing a show for Anthony Bourdain and some Sex and the City people with some writers from Arrested Development, and not quite hunk yet Bradley Cooper. So she has to go and tell him that the writers are going to write Bradley a storyline with a love interest, and he says she should be this love interest. Then miraculously, she landed the part somehow, but the big bosses were like, nah, not the coffee girl. Story two. That's what she said. Her words.
Yeah,
not
she
mine.
did say kind of
No,
say
I think
that.
she said not the fat girl.
It just
Yeah,
sounds.
I wasn't going to say that, for
No,
God's
I
sake.
think she said is they saw me as I was before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Story 2. She had sex with a man that wanted her to wear a collar, and she said no at first, but he kept pushing her, and she wasn't sure what to do. But one night he dropped a Petco bag next to the bed with a dog collar in it, and it was used, so she passed. But then she researched it by going to the pet store herself, trying on the other dog collars, and finally found one she liked at a pleasure chest, not at the pet store. But he wouldn't let her walk her on a leash. She wouldn't let him walk her on a leash, so they broke up.
I'm really glad you don't recap my life on the reg.
All right.
I have many questions. What year was the sitcom?
It was late 90s. I don't remember exactly
Late
what the year
90s.
was. No, sorry, wait. What years did I work from them? The writer's strike, it was early 2000s. The writer's strike was 2008. That was when I stopped working for those guys, and I worked for them for 6.5 years. So it was sometime between 2002 and like 2008.
Does that help you?
Was it after the writer's strike?
No, it was
Okay.
before that.
Are you thinking about? Did you know the show that Anthony Bourdain
No,
was on?
I was just thinking about, like, I remembering when his book first came out and it was a great success, and because when you said late 90s, I was like, God, that sounds
Yeah, that was bad math. I was wrong.
That doesn't sound correct. And then I was thinking,
what about Bonnie?
but Bradley Cooper wasn't Bradley Cooper back then.
He
was
wasn't.
just a handsome.
He was just a handsome
actor.
dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Given all that, I think it's a fucking lie. And I think the second story is true, because if you made up that you went to Petco and put a collar on,
No, I don't think
don't know.
that's true.
I
I don't think she went to Petco and put a collar on. If
Yeah, I
she
don't
won't
think
do
so
it
either.
inside the pleasure chest, why would she do it inside of a pet store?
well, she went to the Petco first.
Yeah, but no. I mean, what are you going to say? Oh, my dog's neck is the same size as mine?
Yeah, pretty much.
That was actually what I was thinking I would say if anyone asked me.
And they're like, how do you know that? Because I've tried her collars on at home? Like, what do you...
Okay, fair enough.
I didn't think it through that much. I was hoping they wouldn't interrogate me.
What do you think, Leah? Which one of her stories do you think is a lie?
She's a good storyteller.
Oh my God, but they were so long.
Wow. Look,
You told me 3 to 5 minutes, and I'm not normally a storyteller allowed.
No, we're so
You
happy
told her
you're
3
here.
to 5 minutes?
Was that what the?
That's what you told me.
No, I say 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 to 3 is the spiel.
the
Come
rundown.
on.
Yeah, all right. My apologies then.
yeah, Jessica told me 2, 3, and I did 10 each. So, God, I think the Petco one is fake.
Why?
Because I think it's believable. I've worked for bosses that didn't want you to shine, and I can recall that being a real feeling of getting like knocked down to size, and then just being the coffee girl still. But there's something about you actually going to Petco and trying on collars that seems too far fetched. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm out.
I think when a
That's my
17-year-old marries a guy named Guillaume from France, she put a fucking collar on from Petco, though.
Yeah, I fucked up.
Lily Caker says she would try it on at the adult store, but definitely not the pet store.
Really?
So that's why she's
Yeah.
not buying that one. She
Yeah.
thinks the second is a lie.
Right.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of dogs, and I just go in there, and I've never put it around my neck. Never. And I've wore collars.
Where'd you get those collars?
Oh, just like Claire's and stuff back in the day.
Uh-huh.
Not the icing.
Icing was a good one.
Yeah, remember icing? I think I got my ears pierced at Claire's.
Let me ask you a
Yeah.
question,
What a time.
though.
What a time.
I'm very sorry to interrupt. Let me ask you this question.
Yes.
So with the guy that was into putting the collar on you and all that sexual stuff, because I was engaged to this guy after I got divorced. I was engaged to this guy, and he was all into that kind of stuff. You know, and so he would, like, he had this 4-poster bed, and he would tie me up. I've said this before, right?
I now remember it's
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
back.
He would tie my leg up to the poster bed, and I was all, you know, had been married a long time without getting a lot of sex. I was like, yeah, tie me up. But in the middle of having sex, the only thing I thought is, man, if I could get my leg untied, I'd apply some fucking torque and throw this guy some fucking puss. You know what I mean? Did you ever go to that level with him with sex? Did you ever go and experience
Of him like tying me up and
and
stuff?
all that kind of stuff?
No, we did not get that far. Things ended before that happened.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? After you bought the collar and everything?
No, because it's a lie.
Yeah.
That's not going to work great on the podcast,
All
but
right,
Jessica
okay.
just dropped the mic
Wait.
physically or something. I don't know.
Felicia, what happened with your fiance?
Oh, we had to break up because here's the thing: is when you're with someone who's into that kind of stuff, it always has to incrementally escalate for it to be exciting to the person that's really into it. And after a while, it's just like like I don't want to play along with going past you doing this kind of physical stuff to me because I won't enjoy it. So. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Can we vote? I'm sorry.
I was fucking sharing over here, Jessica. She was being
Oversharing, I think they call that. Michael, what was your vote?
I think that the I don't think she tried on the collars in the store and shit. I think
First
that,
story's true for Mike.
Yeah.
Second story's a lie for me as well.
Me too.
Okay.
First story is the lie.
Okay.
And Leah online says second is a lie. Buddy says first is a lie.
And Leah in real life says second is a lie.
Man, coinciding Leah's.
All right. What is it?
This is when I reveal the truth.
Would tell us the lie. Which one is the lie?
I did not try on collars at Petco.
I told you it was far-fetched. Yes.
Obviously, I know nothing, and I'm comfortable with that. All right, let's move on.
Well, she
Yeah.
didn't have that. You said that he ramped up. She didn't even try a little choking or whatever to start off with. And then
I didn't want to wear some other bitch's collar. I feel like that's a valid point.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah,
do
can we put the attention back on me, please? Thank you.
do
All
the
right,
recap.
Leah's first story. She was going to Peru with a tight-knit crew of people that she was definitely not a part of, and they drank a bunch of poop water and got sick and borrowed some sweats from a guy because she has shat all up in her own pants. Her flight gets canceled in Panama City, and then everything got shut down. Riots erupted because it's a third world country. That's her words, not mine. And she started raising hell like a true white girl would. And, of course, United Airlines gave in to her. And then I lost track again of her story. But her parents thought that she might have gotten kidnapped or something.
It sounds like a Wes Anderson movie when you do it like that.
Well,
So funny.
Story 2, it was the summer before her senior year, and she's just about 17, off at a creative writing program. All these parents wanted their kids to be her friend, and she goes to this poetry class when she meets this French sex machine,
What
and
a
it's
fucking
love at first
nightmare of a
sight.
story.
And they banged all summer long, and she got super lovesick at the end of it when she had to leave, and her grades dropped. But eventually she sneaks away and elopes with old Guam. But it fell apart.
Guillaume.
I'm sorry. And they got it annulled after 2 months, and then she went back and got chlamydia from him. But her parents thought
Chlamydia.
she got kidnapped or something. So that's a recap.
Let me ask you this question:
God.
so when you came back, was it a regular checkup that you got chlamydia? Things were just funky down there. Like how did?
I felt I had a lot of discharge. Do you need more information? Should we keep going?
I just regularly went. I always went to the health department on the reg because I was pouring it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They
Well,
were
the
tested.
county health department.
Keeping them busy.
I will also tell you I had
The
never.
county health department was like, "We believe you. We need to see your finger book."
We have your finger book. We'll see you again soon.
We have fingerprints from all the people in here. We know exactly who was in there. Also, that was the first time I ever went to the gynecologist.
Oh.
So it was,
Yeah.
You learned a lot
because
from this
you're supposed to go
relationship.
once you become sexually active. Yeah, it was. Never mind. Anyway, yeah,
So you were
Well-
on birth control before that.
I've never been on birth control in my life. Have sex with me. I'm fine. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the second.
Michael.
Leah rules.
Wow, I found one person who wants to have a baby with me.
Oh wow. All right.
I'm gonna say the second one is true.
Really, a guy named Guillaume?
Absolutely.
It is a
I don't
common name
know.
in France.
After seeing her portray Anne Frank upstairs in the bedroom of the Comedy Store, I believe she could just fucking make up names like Guillaume.
Or Alejandro.
And I don't think that's how you spell Guillaume.
Thank you.
With fucking.
Well, how do you spell it?
I would say it was Guilliam
UM.
or
Oh,
something.
I thought it was
A-U.
UM.
I thought it was A-U-M-E.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that, but, not
she
an
said,
O
she said
M E.
accent, and both times she spelled
with
it
an
the same way with the accent.
Accent grave.
That's how he spelled it.
I would have
Yeah,
spelled it like Gehome.
Same.
Guillaume.
All right, so let's take a vote. Unless anyone has any questions, anything anybody wants to say or has said online that you would like to share.
Well, our buddy Leah did get a W on that last story, and she is going first lie on Leah's. So Leah thinks that this Leah's first story is a lie. And then Buddy also going with you guys. First story a lie. LXC, one of our Kiwi buddies down in New Zealand, second story is a lie.
Oh, okay.
Now they're in a different
I'm
hemisphere.
with you.
I don't know if they can tell
I think the
things or
second
what,
story
but-
is a lie and it's someone else's story. That's what I think.
It is.
What? Really?
She's
I
a-
think the first story is the lie.
You think so?
Yeah.
Wait, did she just reveal kind of on
Yeah.
accident?
Did you just reveal your lie?
Because I'm
That
still
was
fingers crossed
obviously
on that
me
second
trying
story.
to fuck with you guys.
What's your vote, Mike?
My vote is story number 1 is a lie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed story
Yeah.
2 is true.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez. Jessica, you're always right, though. So mostly.
You never know. Not
yeah,
always.
Yeah.
Women, I have a hard time telling if they're lying.
Tell me about it.
Oh, you guys, that's
You're right,
fucking
men.
stabs deep here at the podcast. If you only knew, it stabs deep. Poor Michael. Well, here's the thing. You were so fucking like evil little laughter when you told that second story. That was kind of.
Oh, I thought you were going to
Yeah.
bring Anne Frank back in.
No,
Okay.
no. I think that I'm gonna stick with. I think the second story is the lie.
All
All right. So which story is the lie?
Okay, so I will say this.
Just fucking tell us.
I thought I just entered some kind of time lapse just now.
yeah, you did. Guillaume's name is actually spelled Lie.
Oh yes, yes.
So it's
yes.
true?
It's a
What?
lie.
No,
it's
it's
a
a
lie.
lie.
The whole Guillaume story was a lie.
So the no discharge, no nothing?
No chlamydia. No chlamydia. Sorry, I've never had no STD. Sorry. I know.
You bitch.
I know. I feel like you're disappointed that was
Yeah,
fake.
I thought we were STD.
The way she
BFFs.
laughed and went fucking like because of lies. That was a fucking lie.
I can't believe you. Are you on birth control?
Never been on birth control. That's true. won't touch the stuff.
And can someone
Cocaine,
please Google
send it
how do
over.
you spell Guillaume? Because that was some bullshit how you spelled that. Where did you come up with that story?
It's close to a true story, but it's very far removed. I've never been married, men. It's
Because you
it's
shit in
about
your pants.
it's
maybe.
about that unfortunately is true. It's like I've never been to Paris, and it's like the only place I've ever wanted to go.
I've been there 2 weeks.
You want to rub it in?
And I caught chlamydia. And it
Wow,
was
you
great.
lucky bitch from Guillaume. Yeah, I just combined a bunch of like elements of sadness and also things I've always wanted.
What? What?
Not chlamydia, but just like I think it's so romantic, the idea of like running away and
long
getting
to elope.
and yeah.
Oh, really?
And just having this like foreign I mean, I
Yeah.
also, that is a thing of mine. I do fall in love with a lot of foreign men, but usually they're south of the border, so.
Yeah.
So Alejandro was real.
Alejandro, I really do want to look up his Facebook messages because we haven't messaged in a while, and I might just say, hey, I think we should message him right now.
Maybe you should call him live.
Oh my God, hold
At
on.
No,
least
you
pull
can
up
show
his
us, but
picture.
you don't got to message him.
Yeah, Michael, will you do me a favor? Will you Google Guillaume?
Yeah, I will.
How do you spell that?
Guillaume. I believe. I
Yeah.
feel like 95% sure about that.
Yeah. Anyway, you guys have been such great guests, and those were such crazy stories. And thank you for being good sports about letting us tease you on the length of the stories because they were awesome stories, and we were just kidding. But where
No,
can
it felt
people-
like you specifically weren't just kidding.
She typically isn't. No, yeah. Real quick, William in French is Guillaume, spelled Guillaume.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Now some like Golem, like you fucking spelled it like Golem. Anyway,
What would your last name have been?
It was going to be Depardieu.
okay, Guillaume.
I really thought about this. But then when Felicia started asking about spelling, I was like, oh God, my exact girl or like Depardieu. I like lost my mind.
Depardieu.
D-E, attends,
Leah
P-A.
Depardieu.
Leah Depardieu. Oh my God.
Oh my
Well,
god.
also because Amelie is one of my favorite movies because I'm
Uh-huh.
a basic ass white bitch. I don't know. I just think like French love stories are always romantic and tragic.
Right,
and
right.
I
No,
got
but not
excited.
in Boston. They're just
Boston's
a train
where
wreck
love
in
goes to
Boston.
die. Yeah.
Well, where can people find you? What do you have coming up next? What would you like our audience to know about you?
Hey, thanks for listening to this. Oof. I'm Leah Lamarr. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Leah Lamarr, LeahLamarr. I have a podcast I also record here at the Comedy Store. It's called Falling in Love with Leah Lamarr. I set 2 single friends up on a date on the podcast and see if they fall in love in real life. And I do have one match that's still dating, 9 months. Woo woo. And I have a web series called The Real Witches of WeHo. We just got into another festival. So if you're in the Los Angeles area, let me know because we're going to be having a screening soon. I'm on a sketch on the Late Late Show with James Corden that's coming
wonderful.
out next Friday. It's called My Hanukkah Girl. Again, I feel like I keep getting typecast, but I am the Hanukkah Girl, if that wasn't obvious. You can see me online from America's Funniest Home Videos, hosting, also on Clever, and I'm just, I do a lot of stand-up around town, so check my show dates if you want to see me live. Thanks.
All right. What about you?
Here's where-
Fuck you.
I don't know if we've ever had a guest like deliver it to the camera like
She's
that.
a
I mean, that was
professional.
just
She's
wow.
a
Well
professional.
done. Well done.
I'll be brief on this part
Okay,
now.
no, I'm talking.
You can check me out at The Real Kacey Arnold. Other than that, I'll be home writing more shows.
Okay. All right. The only one that can actually pay her
And you
rent.
won't be playing Barbie, Felicia.
No, I doubt it. All right. What about you, Austin? What do you have shaking?
I'm at the Austin Walker on everything. Follow me there. Keep up with me there. I think that's pretty much all I've got because I don't know what our next live show in the Belly Room is.
It's going to be December 26th here at the Comedy Store, and then December
day after Christmas. What a
27th
present.
we are
At the
going to
Ice
be
House.
at the Ice House.
Man,
So yeah, so if
Y'all gonna be
anybody's,
busy.
I know,
not me. I'm gonna be
not
home.
you, you're going to be home. If anyone is around town in LA over Christmas, come check us out here at the Comedy Store. And once again, for you people that are listening and not playing along live or not watching on
Oof.
you
Rough.
people, just know that we do stream live Mondays at 4:30ish and most Fridays at 8:30ish. I'd also like to give a shout out to Todd Walker, who engineered today's session. Hello, Todd. How are you? Thank you very much for all your help. But mostly a shout out to our little friend Michael Evans.
Why mostly? Thank you, but why? You
I
know?
don't know. Michael,
We
what
just
do you
hear
have
the
shaking
sadness
up?
in your
I
voice, and we
know,
want
you to
know we
You're
love
slowly
you so much.
climbing out of the
I'm
sadness.
getting it figured
Um,
out. Follow me on Instagram. High five, Michael. And I'm
Oh
hosting
my
in the main
gosh.
room at the Improv tomorrow night.
Oh, you are? Wonderful. That's really great.
Show the cam up here.
Michael's.
found my
Was he
messages
listening
with
and he just
Alejandro.
messaged you now?
All right.
No.
Is that Alejandro?
Yeah.
What's he got to say?
No, this is from 2013.
Oh.
They go all the way back. Yeah.
Good time to
Damn.
rekindle
Good time
that
to
conversation.
bring that up.
Alejo,
this is
what
wild.
happened to your flight? Are you alive? I made a huge scene at the counter and started hysterically crying, and they put me on a United flight out of there. Just landed. Hope you're okay. So nice meeting you, XO.
Oh.
And that's the last time you messaged him?
Yeah, he's dead.
What?
No, that's a lie.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, you have lost control.
He
But
didn't make it out of the
anyway,
airport.
Michael said he has a show coming up at the Improv at Midnight Show, right, Michael?
Yeah, I'll be hosting through closing tomorrow night in the main room.
Wonderful for you. And my name is. I mean that with love. What do you guys want from me? I say that with kindness. I feel very kind towards Michael. I'm sorry that he's struggling.
Wow, wait,
There
man.
We
Yeah.
love you, Felicia.
No, right? We're all a team, right? Right? And it's nice to see Michael, smiling and hanging out finally.
Wonderful.
Anyway, I know.
Wonderful for you, Michael.
Anyway, my name is Felicia Michaels. You can follow me all across the board. And Jessica?
She's at Felicia Michaels on everything. I am at Jess Wellington 2 on everything. And you have been lied to.
I'm not telling that
Disney believe you. Will the real liar please stand up? Right?
She's totally serious.
And you have been lied to.